We're going to be talking about Bitcoin dumping. We're going to talk about the Coinbase premium flipping negative. We're going to talk about the UAE just leaving OPEC, massive news. And we're also going to talk about the FOMC meeting on interest rates, which will be in 24 hours. So let's start with Bitcoin. First thing to note, Bitcoin has broken down from this major support line, which we've been supported from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times now, and we are breaking down. And I've been expecting a breakdown eventually. We can also see here, if you look at the RSI, that we see a divergence. So the RSI, you can see, is downward sloping, while Bitcoin was upward sloping. This is a divergence, meaning the price usually follows the RSI, and it's an indicator that we are going down. So there's less strength in the market, that we are going up. There's more selling pressure. Now, another thing to note is the liquidation heat map. The liquidation heat map paints a slightly different picture. Look at this. We can see there's a lot of people that will be liquidated around about the $80,000 to $81,000 region. So it gives us a bit of hopium that we might actually see a small pump towards the upside before going down. And this price level, 81,000, actually also plays along nicely with the previous low. So this was the previous low of the last bear flag pattern, which is here at pretty much $81,000. So I would not be surprised if we go slightly higher, tap that 81,000 and then go down. We might not do it necessarily, but it can happen. Now the next thing to talk about, we talked about the liquidation heat map, the RSI, Bitcoin. We're going to talk about the Coinbase premium. The Coinbase premium has just flipped negative, and the last time it has done so, Bitcoin went down 15%. Now, what is the Coinbase premium? I want you guys to understand this very briefly. So let me explain it in this way. It is an index that measures the percentage difference between Bitcoin's price on Coinbase and any other exchange, such as Binance. And it basically gives you a gauge for US institutional buying pressure. So are whales buying, are large institutions buying? This is because Coinbase is used by many US-based institutions and firms. A positive premium often implies that the US-based entities are buying, because if the price is higher on Coinbase, there's more buying pressure on Coinbase, so institutions are buying. It gives us a good idea if large institutions are buying Bitcoin. And usually, if they are selling, which just happened, so it just flipped negative, and I want to show you guys here the Coinbase premium divergence, you can see it just flipped negative. This means that there's more selling pressure by institutions on Coinbase, and whales are selling right now, possibly because they're anticipating a dump. And if I zoom out on Bitcoin here on the daily, and I look at when was the last time that it actually flipped negative, I can see it actually flipped negative right here, which is when we had a local high. And usually this indicates that we are gonna go down as the whales are selling. We can also go back in history here. We can see that we flipped negative and we had a local high. Then we were negative for some time, and then here again we started flipping negative and we had a massive dump in Bitcoin. That is super interesting to note. Next thing, very interesting news, is that actually the UAE just announced that they're going to leave OPEC, the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries, which is OPEC, which is a petroleum cartel. They together decide how much oil each member should produce in order to basically keep the price of oil high. If they all together agree that we're going to produce less oil this year, then the price of course will be higher as supply is less. Now, during the ongoing situation, the UAE has a lot of oil. They actually have 5 million barrels. So it's like I was saying, they have 5 million barrels of oil capacity that they can produce per day. However, OPEC is telling them to only produce 3.22 million barrels per day. That's the quota that they agreed on. And of course, as a result, the production that the UAE is producing per day is matching that quota, while in actuality, they could produce 1.4 million barrels per day extra than what they're being told that they should produce. Now, the UAE leaving long term will lead to lower oil prices as the market is flooded with new oil, of course. However, right now, it might not immediately signal a lower oil price because there is still a lot of pressure. The UAE has this pipeline, the Fujairah pipeline, which is a target and can be targeted by Iran. And also it will take time for new deals to be made, new contracts to be made between the UAE and its buyers. So it's not going to immediately drop the oil price. If you look at the oil price, actually, we can see that we had our high, obviously, and we are basically going sideways. long term, it will go back down to these levels because this is where oil feels comfortable at. We can see that usually oil trades around about $60 to $70 per barrel and eventually will go back to these levels. Now, the next thing to talk about is the FOMC meeting. We have an FOMC meeting in less than 24 hours. So this is when the Federal Reserve will decide upon interest rates. And right now, looking at these statistics, we can see for the meeting today on the 29th of April, there is a 100% chance of zero difference. So the interest rates will remain with a target of around about 3.5 to 3.75%. These will be the current and remaining targets, and there will be no change. Now, what I think very interesting though, is if we look at this chart, you can see here that for the last eight times when we had an FOMC meeting, Bitcoin always pumped before the meeting and then dumped right after the meeting. It happened every single time. You can see right here, we pumped before the meeting, we dumped right after the meeting, the FOMC meeting. And the same thing looks to be happening right now. We've been pumping, and I wouldn't be surprised if after the meeting tomorrow we see a slight correction again. The last thing I want to talk about for you guys today is the May 4th conspiracy. So every single cycle for the last 3 cycles, Bitcoin has been dropping on May 4th. It has a local high. We can see here the 2018 cycle, Bitcoin dropped right afterwards. We can see the last cycle, 2022, we were already going down, and it is of course during a bear market, but we were a local high and we started dropping. And I would not be surprised if in 5 days time on the 4th of May, we will be dropping again. I think this can coincide nicely with us potentially reaching 81,000 and then dropping, or we could start dropping a bit earlier tomorrow after FOMC meeting. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash that like button. See you guys tomorrow, and bye.